Well, week number 15 is in the books, and NFL Goal Line is set to bring you all the updated action and statistics. Here, this is the NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil.
Hello and welcome inside the NFL Goal Line Studios. Monday night is football night here in Football America. Welcome inside the NFL Goal Line Studios, set to bring you a full hour of NFL updated statistics and analysis. Here, this is Nick Rice. We don't have our co-commentator in for tonight. That's Phil Nunziata, unable to make it. Nothing more than championship football. Nothing you can get more excited for, and Phil Nunziata and his flag football team one step away from reaching that championship game. Will be rooting for Team Rise Up in their flag football match here, trying to get to the championship game. More on that, obviously, next week. Obviously, everything going out to Phil Nunziata. Our call-in number for tonight is 951-515-4552. Again, 951-515-4552. We're on Facebook.com as well, on www.facebook.com/NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. Hopefully, you guys can get interactive on NFL Goal Line. We're in affiliation with National Sports Radio Station on Spreaker.com. Glad to have you in on a very exciting Week 15 of football. We start out every day at this time on Monday Night Football Update, and we have a sleeper. Titans over the Jets, 7-3 at halftime. Tennessee, the lone team getting into the end zone, and they do so, obviously, through on the ground. Chris Johnson on a 94-yard touchdown run to give the Titans a 7-3 halftime lead. If the second half is the same in the first half, we probably will not have another Monday Night Football update for the remainder of the broadcast. That's just how boring this game has been. Nobody really has time for a sleeper like that. But that has not been what has made football so great, especially Week 15. We have seen a huge amount of blowouts, including perhaps the most significant game, Atlanta, 34-0 over the New York Giants. And up until recently, I did not see the New York Giants struggling in the fashion that they have. 34-0 defensively, could not get anything going. The score just shows you just how shocking of a defensive performance that was. I did not see just how far behind early on Eli Manning in this elite offense and this defense that really, up until this game, has played extremely well, top 10 in that category. But it looks to me, later on in the year, the New York Giants are missing Mario Manningham more than what was expected earlier on in the year. They believe Victor Cruz, entering his third year, would make the strides that he did from year one to year two. They believed Hakeem Nicks, who has been a staple on that receiving corps, will make more bounds. But with the loss of Mario Manningham, with the loss of Ahmad Bradshaw in this game, offensively, they had to rely on recently cut tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, Martellus Bennett, as one of their leading receivers in this game. Through the air, their top pass catcher was Dominique Hickson, a late-round draft pick for the New York Giants a few years ago. So the New York Giants have their issues on the receiver front, but it was all sorts of problems for the New York Giants. And now at 8-6, not really much recap on this game. Flat-out blowout. Atlanta responding after an embarrassing loss last week. They come back in this game at home, showing their home crowd that this is a playoff team. Tony Gonzalez following this game, saying that they expect a Super Bowl appearance. And based off of this performance, I say that that is not a far stretch. Obviously, the defense really made plays, especially during the first half of that contest, forcing big-time turnovers and not allowing any points the entire contest. Impressive performance for Atlanta. And now at 8-6, the New York Giants are out of the playoff picture. That's right. They have the number 7 seed if the playoff were to start today, which does indeed bump them out of the playoff picture, as every other team in the NFC East won this week, while every other team that mattered, Washington Redskins, pulling it out. And Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys, playing with heavy hearts, come out with a big-time W over the Pittsburgh Steelers in a huge game that we'll get to later on in the broadcast here on NFL Goal Line. Obviously, glad to have you in on this broadcast. Right now, 8-6, New York Giants would be out of the playoff picture. Actually, they are the number 9 seed. They don't even have the tiebreaker over the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, the Cowboys and the Giants match up a little bit later on in this season. Still a lot of NFC East to be played. But after these games with the NFC East, the Redskins have the easiest schedule, and based off of tiebreakers, they have the division lead at an 8-6 mark. Every team that's in contention has an 8-6 mark. Cowboys 8-6, Giants 8-6. But reading off the schedule here, we'll get also in the next 15 minutes, I'll give you my full predictions for week 16 and 17. A part of the NFL Tonight studios, I had a 72% prediction percentage, so I believe that betting on these games, it might be a good idea to. This is right around where I believe the NFL will be done after week 16 and 17 is in the books. We'll see the final playoff picture. I believe this is the playoff picture. These are the standings for these teams, and I'll give it all to you in the next 15 minutes. But the Washington Redskins have the easiest schedule of the remaining 2 games for any team in the NFC East. Actually, one of the most favorable schedules in the remaining 2 teams for any team remaining 2 weeks. The Washington Redskins next 2 weeks facing the 4-10 Eagles, and also home against the Dallas Cowboys that have their fair share of struggles as well. They've won 5 out of their last 6. But I believe that the Dallas Cowboys are, and this has been a story all year, way overhyped. Their offense is not a consistent unit, especially with that running game being so up and down, and the receiving game also. Tony Romo is a staple for that team. Outside of Romo, this team would flat out struggle, and the defense really has been letting teams go up and down all over the field. In this last game the Dallas Cowboys had, they were able to pull it out, but the defense was unable to really provide any sort of a spark. Pittsburgh offensively is atrocious, especially the last few weeks. San Diego getting their rear ends into shape, especially with a must-win game there, and then a must-win game for the Steelers this week, 7-6, unable to get it done in Dallas. I don't believe that the Cowboys will make the sort of run that elite veteran teams are able to make. Down the stretch, I don't believe that Dallas is able to get it done. And then obviously the Giants are falling apart here. The kind of morale after a 34-0, any sort of a loss like that, just demoralizing defeat where nothing went right in that game. To have that sort of a loss in December is different than in January or in October or September, where you can get your act into gear over the next few weeks. The Giants were pretty much playing a playoff game in this matchup. They were playing a very hot conference foe in the Falcons. And when it was all said and done, just nothing went right. There's one thing to lose to a team that you were oh so close to pulling it out. It could have gone either way. Versus a loss like this, 34-0, where you're so far behind. At least the morale is. At least the attitude is. You're so far behind. And Tom Coughlin, I believe, is one of 4 or 5 elite coaches in the NFL. There's only a select few. Tom Coughlin, if I'm going to bet any guy can rally the troops for next week's contest, as they still are in very much in the NFC East playoff picture, it is the New York Giants. Next week they take on a Ravens squad that also has been spiraling downwards as of late, and they face the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Those are the next 2 contests for this Giants team. Still a very favorable schedule considering the skill and talent that they have up front, offensive and defensive line. And Eli Manning, if there's any quarterback that can come back off of pressure, it is Manning. 34-0, a demoralizing defeat, but not a defeat that will ruin their season. They are still very much in this playoff picture, but they have to hope to win out. With one loss, they are not eliminated. Actually, they are eliminated. They need to win 2 straight and hope for a loss by the Washington Redskins. That's the scenario for the remaining 2 games. I'll also, again, read off the Redskins schedule. The Giants have to hope to win out, same as the Cowboys. The Cowboys and the Giants have to hope that they win out. With a loss, they're still in the playoff chase, but you can't expect the Redskins to lose out off of losing 1 game. If the Giants or Cowboys win out, they have to hope that the Redskins lose to either the Eagles in Week 16 or the Cowboys in Week 17. Very interesting scenarios during the final 2 weeks. This is one of many scenarios that will obviously be very intriguing coming right down to the wire. This is why the NFL is so great. We see so many. I mean, if the playoffs were to start today, partner, we would see the Seattle Seahawks and Washington Redskins in the NFC battle, and you would see the Indianapolis Colts with their hot story and the Baltimore Ravens battle out in the wild card rounds for the AFC and NFC respectively. This is why the NFL is so great. We see rookie quarterbacks take teams that just last year were a far cry, and that is a very light term, from being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Indianapolis 2-12 last year, they're 9-5 this year with Andrew Luck. That's pretty much the only input that was the big input. They added Coby Fleener, but I think we all can agree that Coby Fleener is not Dallas Clark. So the Indianapolis Colts, you plug in a quarterback and they are already instantly a playoff team. Seattle Seahawks, add in Russell Wilson. Now this team does have some defensive talent. They did last year. But you can see this team start to pull away. They're 9-5, but they're playing like they're 14-0 with the way that they're beating teams. 59-0 against Arizona, 50-17 against Buffalo. If there's any offense that can score points in a hurry, as of late, it's been Seattle. And then the 8-6 Washington Redskins with Robert Griffin. You add in that quarterback, that third dimension, able to run the football, pass the football, and also make the plays in the pocket with his feet. Add in that quarterback, and they instantly win 5 more games. They were 4-12 last year. Washington making the huge jump just because of the quarterback position. That's the name of the game, quarterback. Can you get the elite single caller that can win games for you in the NFL? Opening rant on NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil, part of National Sports Radio Station, affiliation with Spreaker.com. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be right back after a quick 30-second break. This is Nick Rice, part of NFL Goal Line. We're bringing you everything around the National Football League. What are my predictions after weeks 16 and 17 are in the books, and who are going on to the big game, the Lombardi Trophy, who's bringing it down in the Super Bowl? All that and more coming up next on the NFL Goal Line. This is Nick Rice. Welcome back to the NFL Goal Line with Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata. Phil Nunziata cannot make it for us tonight. He'll hopefully be back next week. He's just having some, obviously, other obligations, more important than, obviously, a radio show here. Obviously, glad to have you with us. 951-515-4552 is the call-in number. You can call, text, or tweet. NFL Goal Line, Facebook as well, facebook.com/group/NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil, no spaces there, to bring you everything around the National Football League. Thank you guys for joining us. There's obviously there are terms, there are sayings, if I will. There are sayings around just overall sayings that are completely overrated. Now, I want to just real quick go back here. Obviously, this isn't. Part of these are true, but I would just like to say, first of all, there are sayings in life that overall are just overrated. Balance is key to a healthy and happy living. And as much as that is true, that also is not true. You know, Kobe Bryant, he makes his big plays. He is one of the best to ever play. I may argue that he's the best shooter in the game, in the NBA, because of his ability to shoot as well as anybody. Is to shoot the clutch shot, also a very clutch shooter. But overall, his defense is questionable. Everyone says that he's a ball hog. Well, not everyone, but the point is here, Kobe Bryant is great because he is an elite shooter. Balance is key in life. Not necessarily. Kobe Bryant works on one thing. If you're great at everything, there's a difference between great and everything and Kobe Bryant getting all the signatures, getting all the notoriety because he's great at one thing. He's tremendous at one thing, and that's shooting the basketball. Now, balance, as much as that is key, also it's a safe bet that might not be the best decision. Now, where am I going with all of this? Colin Kaepernick plugged into the lineup for San Francisco over Alex Smith. Alex Smith was the safe bet. Alex Smith, an extremely balanced quarterback. Every week, and he had the highest completion percentage in the NFL, a 70% completion rate. That would be, if the season were to end and Alex Smith would not play another snap, that would be the NFL record. Now, he did not play all 16 games, and perhaps that is why he won't get in the record books that way. But Alex Smith was an extremely efficient quarterback. A 20 for 25 quarterback guy. He was playing at a Pro Bowl level. Rarely turned the football over. Only 4 interceptions the entire season. Alex Smith was a guy that will get you 2 touchdowns on 20 of 25 passing, say 250 yards. Colin Kaepernick, a very young player, obviously a rookie in the second round taken by San Francisco, plugged into the lineup due to injury, and San Francisco has not looked back. Now, fans are correct in a way for criticizing Jim Harbaugh and making this decision, but if I were to be on the back of any head coach making a quarterback change, it would be a guy that has been successful at every level of football, obviously college in the NFL most notably, where he has transformed quarterbacks to become as elite as Alex Smith, from being benched by John Skelton and being just completely run out of town by that organization and by that fan base, to being a Pro Bowl style quarterback that was argued to be, and last year they were just a few fumbles away from the Super Bowl, was argued to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And there were questions around, is this guy in the likes of an Eli Manning and of a Ben Roethlisberger? You plug in Colin Kaepernick, a couple wins after his very first start, struggles. That's an understatement. Struggles against San Francisco in a 13-10 loss in St. Louis against one of the worst teams in the NFL, obviously worst team in that division outside of Arizona that's making strides. Colin Kaepernick plugged in. He's a guy that's not going to give you the completion percentage, but overall balance, as much as that is key in life, Jim Harbaugh went with the guy that is great at one thing. And obviously, he's a tremendously accurate quarterback, but he can make a dimension. He has a dimension that Alex Smith does not have, and that's running with the football and making the plays in the pocket, moving the feet. Frankly, Alex Smith cannot do that. Now, he's a very efficient quarterback, 20 of 25 passing. You would say every week, 70% overall throughout the entire year. But Colin Kaepernick just can make plays that Alex Smith can. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers were looking for. And this is a new day and age. It's been, obviously, the last couple years, it's been a very offensively driven league, especially in this decade. And now the key to winning games is not what Alex Smith brings to the table. If the San Francisco 49ers were going to go to the Super Bowl and win it, they would have to do it by one way only. run the football and play great defense. They would have to have those two key factors in the playoffs to make a run for that Lombardi. If it goes any short of that, then San Francisco cannot rely on a quarterback that last year in the championship game went 1 for 13 on third down, and San Francisco only had one catch by a wide receiver in that game. Alex Smith is not an elite quarterback, but he's a very good, very efficient, balanced quarterback, not going to make the mistakes, but not going to make the big plays. 5 of the last 7 Super Bowl championship quarterbacks, 2 have gone to Eli Manning, 2 have gone to Ben Roethlisberger, and 1 has gone to Aaron Rodgers. Guys that make a lot of mistakes, make a lot of interceptions, but also make a lot of big plays, mobile with their feet. Ben Roethlisberger is the best on third down, may I mention as well, and that's because he can make plays with his feet, and boy, did the Niners need that last year in the NFC Championship game. And now the Niners have a young quarterback. This is their future. They're just pulling on it now, rather than a 29-year-old Alex Smith that has reached his prime and is on the downward spiral, and I believe is more of a beneficiary of a great talent around them, great defense, great running game, and a very, very quarterback-happy head coach, rather than his quote-unquote immense talent that has got him benched for the last 5 years. NFL goal line with Nick and Phil rolls on. Colin Kaepernick in this game, 41-34, your final, San Francisco over the New England Patriots, in a game that was really not even close until the final blow of the whistle there. New England, with 40 seconds to go, had one final shot on a onside kick attempt that didn't really go New England's way, but in a game where Tom Brady threw 65 times in this matchup, there was one throw, most notably, that Bill Belichick, again on a 4th and 2, is most criticized. At his own 12-yard line, the Patriots go for it in the waning moments of the third quarter, and Tom Brady is no good, and it leads to a San Francisco touchdown on that next drive. At the 12-yard line, if there were any quarterback that I would want with the football, it would be Tom Brady trying to convert a 4th and 2. Most notably, unable to get it this year and unable to get it against the Colts 2 years ago. Bill Belichick, I believe, is right in that decision. Do I give the ball to Tom Brady, arguably in the last 10 years the best quarterback to ever play the position? Or do I send out my punt team and hope for a great punt, hope for great coverage, hope for a great defensive stand, and hope for great field position, or at least better field position, off of a presumable San Francisco punt? A lot of ifs there. 4th and 2 with the game winding down, I go for it, and I put my money into perhaps the best quarterback to ever play in Tom Brady. Bill Belichick has gotten quite a bit of heat in his day, but I believe that, and I'm not hard-pressed in saying this, that Bill Belichick perhaps is the best coach of this era. With all of the decisions he's made, that New England has been so formidable for so many years, to be able to to be able to make these kind of decisions. It was 2 minutes and 24 seconds in the fourth quarter on a 4th and 2 from their own 12, trailing by 7, 38-31. New England goes for it on 4th and 2, a pass intended to the left sideline for Danny Amendola. Now, I want to question the fact that they go to a 5'8" running back, Danny Woodhead, on a 4th and 2 out wide. He was matched up against the linebacker on that play, but why you go to a running back when you had perhaps the best receiving day of a tight end for New England this year? Now, that might be a stretch, but Aaron Hernandez had 10 grabs in this game, was very reliable in the middle, 10 for 92 and a touch. very reliable in this game. The only touchdown passing for New England was indeed that TD to Hernandez. Why they don't go to also Brandon Lloyd, 10 receptions in a breakout game for him. We'll get to that in just a minute. Why they go to Danny Amendola, that's the only thing I'm scratching my head with. Tom Brady, if I'm going to have any guy on 4th and 2 passing the football with my team trailing by a touchdown in the 4th, I'm going with Brady. I believe most of America would go with Brady. Also, want to add in there. Brandon Lloyd, a breakout game, 10 for 190, 10 catches for 190 yards. That's the kind of breakout game New England needed. Now, this passing offense trailed 31-3 early on, and that was due to turnovers. 4 in the first half. That led to a 31-3 mark. And I also, real quick, go to Colin Kaepernick. 14 of 25, 216, and 4 touches. Alex Smith, he may have gone 20 of 25, but he wouldn't have had 4 touchdowns because that's the kind of balanced game that he has. Very safe, underneath passes, where in his 29th year and in the NFL, when you're looking for passes down the field, when it's a very quarterback-driven, pass-happy league, 20 for 25 for 190, soft football and 2 touchdowns is not going to get it done, partner. Teams like New England and San Francisco, the best in their divisions in my mind, they are great for a reason because they have it right at the quarterback position, the key mark there, and they also have playmakers that can make a difference in big games like this, which is the key in the postseason. It's why New England and San Francisco are always in the hunt every year. Now, San Francisco is somewhat new at this, but with Jim Harbaugh, it seems to be a staple there for quite a while with a quarterback that can win and win for the next 10 or 12 years for this team. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing football. That's why the National Football League is just the best sport in all of America. Glad that America's game is none other than the National Football League. Great games, great teams, and absolutely nail-biting final 2 weeks we have on tap. And if you are a member of the NFL Red Zone, nothing more than seeing 1 o'clock games at that 4 o'clock mark Eastern time, seeing 6, 7, 8 teams obviously battling there, and they go from one clip to the next and the next and the next. That is the NFL. And with all these playoff implications here, the next 2 weeks will be crucial for so many teams. I predicted Week 16 and Week 17 of the NFL, the final 2 weeks of the year, going schedule by schedule. And if this were the case, in the National Football Conference, NFC, the Falcons would round out with the first seed at a 13-3 mark, 1-1 in their final 2 games. Marking down here, the number 2 seed would be the Packers. Number 3 seed would be the Niners. Now the Packers, I believe, would go 12-4, and the Niners would go 11-4-1. Speaking of tie-breaking, that tie, 11-4-1. That's the key, as they are a half game out of the second seed, out of a first-round playoff bye. San Francisco can win on the road as well as anyone. But just overall, that tie seemed to really make some more trouble for that team. Number 4 seed, I have the Redskins at 10-6. Very easy schedule. I see them winning out. Number 5 seed, the Seahawks. And number 6 seed, the Bears. I don't believe the Giants get it. They have a very tough schedule, including both teams from the NFC East. I just believe that Washington pulls it out in this division. Same with the Dallas Cowboys, 8-8. I don't believe the Cowboys win any of their next 2 games. Very overrated bunch, winning 5 of 6 to even make it to the hunt. It's been very tough to get to this point. But they are just a team that is not ready for that next step. They haven't been for years. And just with all the off the field issues for this team, you know, a very terrible mistake by one guy. We'll get to that very soon here. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys, there's been some issues off the field that I believe will hinder them from making a shot to the postseason. They have to hope to win out and hope for the Redskins to win or lose one of their final 2 games, and it has to be the game that they have in Week 17 where they are on the road to take on the Redskins. I just don't believe that Washington will fumble away this division. Very, very impressive play by their rookie quarterback there. And that would lead to the NFC playoff battles. It would be the Bears against the Niners. I would take the Niners in that game because Chicago has really buckled down. They are 7-1 to start the year and lose 5 of their last 6. They are now 8-6. I believe that they went out to make it to the postseason because they play 2 very easy teams, at least record-wise. Week 16, Chicago takes on the Arizona Cardinals. And then in Week 17, they take on the Lions. I believe they have a very easy schedule to get in, but they cannot outlast the Niners. And then the Seahawks and the Redskins, battle of 2 rookie quarterbacks. Boy, what a very intriguing game that is. I take Seattle in that game. And off of that, it would be none other than the Niners taking on the Packers and the Falcons taking on the Bears. I believe Atlanta gets it done, and I believe San Francisco gets it done. San Francisco and Atlanta for a trip to the Super Bowl. And the key all year, I've emphasized it the entire season, has been defense, defense, defense for this Atlanta team, and they just are too inconsistent in that category. Tremendous secondary, below average, B-, C+ linebackers. No big names there, and outside of John Abraham, same with the defensive line that is just average. This team is in the bottom half defensively. This offense can score points when they have a lot of ifs here, when the running game is able to get going, and the receivers obviously can get open down the field. This rushing offense is bottom 5 in the league. I'm very surprised on how Michael Turner has not had the kind of year that we all expected going into this year. I just don't believe Atlanta gets it done. So San Francisco makes it for the NFC. Really quick to the AFC, I believe seeds 1 through 6, respectively here. Houston Texans, 1 seed. Denver Broncos, 2 seed. New England Patriots with a 3 seed. And at 9-7, Baltimore able to get it done. They get the number 4 seed. Then the number 5 seed, Indianapolis Colts, tremendous story. And Cincinnati Bengals get it done. And I predicted weeks ago when we saw the playoff picture that I believe we were set outside of the AFC. Cincinnati gets it in because of just how easy their remaining schedule is and how hot they have played as of late, and that they have the quarterback that can win. Teams that couldn't make it in, I believe, for the AFC were the 8-8 Jets and the 8-8 Steelers. I believe those are their final marks for the AFC. Wild card matchups with the Patriots and the Bengals. I'm taking New England at home. Then the Ravens and the Colts. And for a struggling Ravens team, now last year they were just a few big plays away. Lee Evans dropping a would-be game-leading touchdown pass with 30 seconds to go for the Ravens. This year, I believe they don't have the same scenario there. I take Indianapolis. And then in a battle between, obviously, 2 teams that are extremely tough up front and will be great for a while, Houston and Indianapolis, I'm taking the Texans in a divisional matchup there. And then Patriots, Broncos taking New England. And for the championship game, I have the Patriots and the Texans. And none other than the New England Patriots, I believe, get back to the Lombardi Trophy contention for that, rather, for the 2nd straight year. Niners and the Patriots, 2 tremendous storylines with an aging quarterback and a quarterback of the future in Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick against Brady. Very opportunistic defense against a squad in San Francisco that can get it done week in and week out. Turnovers, and that tremendous run defense. In the end, I believe San Francisco upsets the New England Patriots team and wins that Lombardi Trophy predictions right now for Nick Rice, part of NFL Goal Line, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, on the other end of the spectrum, the top 3 draft picks, I believe, after this season is in the books. At 2-14, Kansas City has the number 1 overall pick. Number 2 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 3, the Tennessee Titans at 4-12. And Oakland Raiders getting the honorable mention, the number 4 overall draft pick at 4-12. Those are your predictions there, and we will be back after a quick 30-second break. What to make of the fact that so much criticism is made for the Dallas Cowboys and how they handled that situation. We'll go more in depth on the update in Dallas just 3 days following a crucial car crash between 2 Cowboys players. This is the NFL Goal Line with Nick Rice on Spreaker.com. Welcome back to the NFL Goal Line with Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata. Phil could not join us for tonight's broadcast, but we're glad to have you in on Spreaker.com, affiliation with National Sports. Josh Brent of the Dallas Cowboys. He is suspended for the remainder of the season. Nose tackle Josh Brent involved in a car crash off of intoxication, charged with manslaughter just 2 weeks ago. He is on the reserve non-football injury list. As for the Dallas Cowboys, he will not be suiting up for the remainder of the season, but several of Brent's players, including teammates, urged him to attend the Steelers game, and he was on the sidelines for that matchup. Just days removed from the very fatal car crash. Also, another teammate, a practice squad player, was injured in that game, was killed in that car crash. Very, very serious news for the Dallas Cowboys. And just days later, the Dallas Cowboys have him on the sidelines for this matchup between the Steelers and the Cowboys. Very touchy situation here. But and this is the key for also, obviously, there are different ways that different people handle situations. In families, there are different people that raise their children differently. Different parents that raise their children in a different way, how they believe is most appropriate. Some parents obviously more heavy on these set of morals. These parents more heavy on these set of values. And obviously, this is a very touchy situation where morals play a huge role and a big part of not only the football team, but of the families affected. But following this big-time accident, a huge mistake. Defensive tackle Josh Brent, intoxicated with a .18 alcohol intake. He has a .18, which is over double the legal limit for alcohol use. .18 intoxication. Very just terrible judgment on the part of defensive tackle Josh Brent. Gets in a motorized vehicle with a .18 alcohol intoxication blood level. He's driving in flat out, crashes the car. He injures himself, and he kills a teammate of his as well, a very great friend. Terrible judgment on the part of Josh Brent, but not only does the organization support Josh Brent in his... Now, there's obviously going to be punishment later on for Brent, and it's inevitable. Josh Brent, future punishment is set for him there. And he's also placed on the non-football injury list, so he will not be a part of the Dallas Cowboys playing for the remainder of the season, will not suit up. But he was on the sidelines for that game, catching a lot of attention. But I go back to how families raise their kids differently, how a very close friend of Josh Brent, a person who's been around him for a very long time. He was a main supporter in the fact that he needs to be on the sideline. When people make big-time mistakes, the worst thing that they could do is isolate themselves, get themselves away from the world. What they need is more support in that situation. That's why counseling is a huge part of someone's comeback from a big time mistake. Josh Brent has, that's just for years. I'm sure that is not a first time for Josh Brent. I'm sure that's been a year-long, multiple-year kind of bad judgment kind of issues. And Josh Brent obviously made a big mistake, terrible judgment. But, when it's all said and done, he needs support. He needs to move on from this terrible incident that he put himself in and obviously come back in as great of a situation as possible. We'll take another quick 30-second break. Phil Nunziata will call in following this commercial break here on NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. We'll have Phil Nunziata. We'll take a quick 30-second break. Thank you guys for listening, and we will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the NFL Goal Line. Unfortunately, Phil Nunziata will not be joining us for this broadcast here on NFL Goal Line. We're wrapping up here on Week 15 around the National Football League. Obviously, some big-time scenarios are here for the final 2 weeks of the year. And if I've seen any team that has improved from Week 1 to Week 15, it has been none other than the Seattle Seahawks. A team that has scored 109 points in their last 2 games. That's an NFL record. Seattle has played so impressively. Russell Wilson. No one is talking about him for Rookie of the Year. Nobody is giving him any sort of credit for Rookie of the Year. He has played like a rookie, no more. He has played like a 7-year All-Pro. The passes that he makes down the field, the plays he makes with his feet, the fact that he only has 1 interception to 11 touchdowns at home. And his team last year struggled to make plays offensively, a pathetic offensive unit, and has made guys in the like of Zach Miller and Golden Tate look similar to the triplets of Russell Wilson to Andre Johnson and Tony Gonzalez. This guy has made plays that are just flat-out head-scratching. Sure, this game is against Buffalo. Sure, this is against a team that has perhaps one of the least formidable defenses in the NFL. But Russell Wilson, another coming-out party for this. Obviously, it's been a case all year long. But throwing to guys like Golden Tate and Zach Miller, their leading receivers in this game, flat out impressive. And he adds a very impressive dimension on the ground as well. 3 rushing touchdowns for this quarterback in this game as well. Outscoring the entire Buffalo team with his feet. Very impressive mark. And Russell Wilson, Adrian Peterson is on the cusp, if you will, of being regarded as the comeback player of the year. Russell Wilson, a 5'11" quarterback, taken in the 4th round by the Seattle Seahawks early in the year, before the season, deemed to be a very bonehead decision by Seattle. They already had a quarterback controversy between McCoy, starting to lose the names here, but they had a two-man quarterback battle there, and they go with Russell Wilson, a rookie taken in the 4th round for Seattle. 4th round pick, 5'11" and a half stature. No one knew that he would be the next. Obviously, it's a long way in coming, but Russell Wilson is playing more like a comeback player of the year. Very impressive. Seattle is a much different team than 2 weeks ago. Very impressive. Seattle's 9-5, 1 win away from clinching a playoff berth. Very impressive mark. They face the the San Francisco 49ers next week on Sunday Night Football. Glad to have you in on the NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. Phil Nunziata, he was unable to join us here on the NFL Goal Line, but his Rise Up team has made it to the championship game as he is victors in this matchup. Glad to have Phil Nunziata reach that mark. We hopefully we'll have him back next week, but if not, he'll be playing in that championship game. Glad to have you guys in on the NFL Goal Line. Obviously, the call-in number for the final 10 minutes of the show. Hopefully, you guys can tune in here. 951-515-4552. Our Facebook question of the day was the Washington Redskins at 7-6 on the year. Are they a playoff team? Obviously, that was before the Redskins able to get another victory to improve to 8-6 on the year and capture the division lead so far to this point. And it was almost... it was a deadlock decision, 2 apiece, as Cameron Sadeghi and Tyler Severance of Facebook voted yes for the Washington Redskins to make it the postseason, and Jason Lundgren, Jason Hirsch also of the Facebook were no on that answer, 2 apiece, but obviously Jason Hirsch saying that they will lose to Cleveland on Sunday. Well, that was not the case. We'll have to wait and see if this Redskin team at 8-6 will make their way to the postseason. Obviously, it's been a very trying year for that team, but they have gotten it done through free agency, acquiring Pierre Garçon before the year, another guy that was regarded as a bonehead decision by the Washington Redskins that has paid off in dividends. As this offense, not only with Robert Griffin, has made their strides to being one of the best offenses in the NFL, but they also have proven that they can win with the talent they have gotten at receiver, and one of the most surprising running backs as well in Alfred Morris, a 6th-round pick for the Redskins. He ran a 4.59 at the combine of the 40-yard dash. That is a very slow mark comparing to Chris Johnson that runs almost 0.3 seconds faster, which is everything on a 40-yard dash. But the Washington Redskins proving that they can win without Robert Griffin, plug in Kirk Cousins, and they still put up 38 points. Now, mind you, it's the Cleveland Browns. And mind you, it was also a game where they did indeed also force a few turnovers by the Washington Redskins, including an interception, the lone one for Kirk Cousins earlier in the matchup. But Kirk Cousins, also a 4th-round pick, and also a quarterback that is flat out proving that he can make a case for any other team hoping to get him following this season through free agency. But they have proven that they can win with Alfred Morris, a running back that is 3rd in the NFL in rushing the football, and Pierre Garçon that has racked up miraculous numbers following a subpar season with the Indianapolis Colts, not even reaching 1,000 yards for that team with Peyton Manning under center. And now he is starting to reach his prime. In his 5th year, he has had some injury concerns. He has been unable to stay on the field for as long as the Redskins would like. But in his 8 games, has piled up 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, and has been a reliable target, the most reliable for a Robert Griffin III in his 8-6 Redskin team so far this year. It's believed that, and Griffin could have perhaps played in this game. He said that he could have, but Shanahan made the decision to go with Kirk Cousins. It looks to be more than just an injury issue, but more of just the fact that they need to have their quarterback ready for the postseason rather than injure or re-injure his leg in a game that was significant, but a team that Kirk Cousins can handle just fine, and that proved to be the case. Shanahan, I believe there are 4 coaches that are elite, the elite in the NFL, that are model coaches, always put their team in the best position. Speaking of great position, Tennessee scores to take the lead 14-10 in the Monday Night Football update in the third quarter over the Jets as the third quarter winds down 20 seconds ago. There are 4 coaches, I believe, that are elite. Bill Belichick, model coach, always a commitment to winning, and makes the decisions that, frankly, only the 3 other elite coaches can make, and that is Tom Coughlin, Jim Harbaugh, and the Steelers. Boy, how am I not getting the name? The Steelers head coach as well. Only 4 coaches. Mike Tomlin. Only 4 coaches, Mike Tomlin, Tom Coughlin, Bill Belichick, and Jim Harbaugh. I believe those are the 4 coaches that are elite. And there are 4 coaches that are very good. And there are more than 4. I believe there are a handful, a half dozen to 8, perhaps 10 coaches that are really good. Not elite, but really good. And Shanahan is one of those coaches. Just the guy that makes the quarterback decision that helps his team win, makes the decisions. This team is 3-5. Washington is. They have won 5 of their last 6. This team is 3-5, and he challenges this team to win. Challenges this team, and starts benching players, and just makes the key change in that locker room to help this team turn around and win. If there's any good coach that can really turn it around, it's Shanahan, a very good coach. Elite coaches are A-type coaches, and then obviously good coaches, I would say, are around a A- or a B+ type of coaches. I believe Shanahan's a B+ coach that has his team 1 win away, or 2 wins away, but barring losses within the division, 1 win away from being back in the NFL playoffs. And when that postseason hits, it's anyone's game. Anyone's game. We just saw it a few years ago, where the Seattle Seahawks at 7-9, a below 500 team, makes the playoffs and beats the Saints, and almost was able to knock down the Chicago Bears in the divisional round in their house. The NFL playoffs, it will be extremely exciting. Thank you guys for listening to the NFL Goal Line. We'll wrap up with Week 15 scores and the last Monday Night Football update. Glad to have you guys part of us for this Week 15 around the National Football League. Boring game between the Titans and the Jets. 14-10 your score there. Same with the Thursday night matchup between the Eagles and the Bengals. Decisive win for Cincinnati, trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're currently the number 6 seed in the playoff picture. Not the same for the New York Giants. 34-0 shellacking the Falcons, getting their bells rung. Impressive victory for the Falcons, that I still am doubting that defense despite a shutout. I have been against them all year long. Unable to beat the Panthers at home. Unable to contain the running game of also the New Orleans Saints. When they lose, they can't stop the run and they can't run the football. That will be the key in the playoffs. Why did the Patriots make the Super Bowl? They were able to run the football. Broncos in a decisive win over the Baltimore Ravens. 34-17 your final there. And in a game no one's talking about, Green Bay doing their business against the Bears. And I believe Chicago has offensive line concerns that is more than just the draft. They need to make free agency moves. They need to do something to help that offensive line, that key. If there is any group of players, any position outside of quarterback that is the most important for a team, it's the offensive line. Look at San Diego. They are an offensive line and a coach away from being a big-time contender in the playoffs. We speak of San Diego, 31-7 loss over the Carolina Panthers. 29-17, your win over the Colts is the Houston Texans in that matchup. We just spoke of the Redskins, 38-21, your win. And obviously, Washington is set in the driver's seat for the playoffs. 24-3, Miami over Jacksonville, 41-0. 2 shutouts in this game. Actually, 3 this week. And that must be an NFL record for this year. 41-0, Saints over the Buccaneers in the last shutout. Raiders 15-0 over the Chiefs. Meaningless, no playoff implications there. Minnesota winning with Adrian Peterson just 296 yards away. He has 2 games to get it. Eric Dickerson's record of 2106 rushing yards. Adrian Peterson racked up almost 200 yards against St. Louis, a top 10 rush defense. Against the number 2 rush defense in the Houston Texans, he racked up another 130. This guy's for real. If Adrian Peterson does not win the Comeback Player of the Year, who gets it? Who gets it? I mean, look at the contention there. I believe that Adrian Peterson, 1 year away from a blasted ACL, comes back in tremendous fashion. Adrian Peterson, hard to not be a fan of that running back. A great bounce back year. Cardinals in a bounce back game as well after a 9-game losing streak, 38-10 shellacking over the Detroit Lions. 50 points put up for Seattle in a big-time victory to keep their NFC divisional hopes alive over the Buffalo Bills. Dallas Cowboys in overtime following a heartbreaking loss of an NFL player, Josh Brennan, a car accident on the sidelines as the Cowboys in overtime defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-24, your final there. And San Francisco, New England, a battle of 2 of the greats in their conference, respectively. Both teams number 3 in the seeds there over in their respective conferences. San Francisco pulls it out 34-41, the final score in New England. And another Monday Night Football update, not exactly scoring-wise, as this game has been very low scoring. No surprise there. Tennessee still leading 14-10, but we're at the 14-minute mark remaining in the fourth quarter. Thank you guys for listening. This is Nick Rice, part of NFL Goal Line, in affiliation with National Sports on Spreaker.com. Thank you guys for listening for a Week 15 presentation of the NFL Goal Line. Make sure to tune in next week at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Spreaker.com. Catch us on Facebook and Twitter, NFL Goal Line, hashtag NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. So long, guys. Thanks for listening.